everybody? It is Men in Stripes, brought to you by StripeHype.com, a fan site exclusives. We are at week 17 of the season from hell. God, 2016 has sucked. It has sucked so bad. I'm so glad it's going to be over in a couple days. Tim Daniel here. No Shelby Dermer this week as he is doing the college student thing, so hopefully we'll have him back when we come back on air in a week or so. But we do have Mr. Matt Willson on. Matt, how are you, man? How was your Christmas? How's everything been?
It's been busy. How about you?
Not bad, not bad. I finally am away from two-job life for a little bit, so two-job life will not consume my life, so I'll have time to do more things and enjoy myself.
There you go.
Yeah. So, Matt, let's start off. Let's go through the timeline here in the Bengal Dome because a lot of things have happened since our last show. Going back to them losing to the Steelers, we did not do a show after that, and a game where they gave it up. They were up big and choked big time. Where Tyler Eifert was only targeted twice in the whole game. Way to go there, Ken Zampese. And then we go to Houston, where we all week are hearing A.J. Green's going to play. He's involved. He's going to be playing this one. We're like, okay, cool. You know, he'll go get that record that he deserves, and that's fine. And then, sit him for week 17 because he doesn't need to play. And he still didn't really need to play in that game. It was a meaningless game, and I'm okay with Mike Brown sitting him. What I'm not okay with is him flying to Houston with the team, and being at a team meeting, telling reporters that everyone's telling him he's going to be good to go, and all of a sudden he's pulled and they say, no, you're not going to play. And now the best player on your team is pissed off at your franchise. So way to go on that one, Mike Brown and crew. Give yourselves a round of applause on that. I don't care that you didn't play him. I care how you handled the situation. And then we go and play the Texans. A very horrible first half. The Bengals defense looks great. Tom Savage can't do anything. Brandon LaFell gets a nice 86-yard touchdown. You think, oh, okay, they're going to win this game. Houston goes down and scores. You're like, okay, maybe they're not for sure going to win this game. Then Andy Dalton drives them downfield, and they have a chance to win it and make sure the Texans are not division winners for at least another week. No, Randy Bullock stutters out of his step and misses a field goal wide right, when he's a right-handed kicker, kicking for the last hash. So, that brings us to then, where Chris Cooley, because people think Chris Cooley all of a sudden is an NFL insider and he knows everything, says that he's going to have, that Marvin Lewis is going to retire at the end of the year and Paul Gunther's going to Washington. And people run with this story, they run hard with it, because why wouldn't they? Because they'll believe any goddamn thing that's said out there. And of course, who shuts that down other than Marv himself this morning? By not telling the local media that he's coming back, but by telling the national media he's coming back. Because, Marvin Lewis, you sure showed your local media they should believe what's been said, even though we already know you're contracted to 2017, because you got to be here to watch this team win another, have a terrible bad year, when they shouldn't, and they're a lot better than they really have shown, but you're out all your players. And now we are to this Sunday, and a game that doesn't matter, against the Baltimore Ravens, where there will be no A.J. Green, there will be no Tyler Eifert, there will be no Tyler Kroft, there will be no Vontaze Burfict, there will be no Jeremy Hill. There is no need for this game to even happen. If you're going to send Andy Dalton out there, I understand he's going to have LaFell and Boyd, but you might as well let A.J. McCarron play the second half of this game, because this is going to be a diabolical waste of a Sunday.
Yeah, pretty close to that. I know we haven't talked since, I think, it's been 2 weeks since Monday, since we last talked. Mm-hmm. And a lot of things happened in terms of even Stripe Pipe world. From that perspective, we talked to, our Houston Texans, Coro Times for Fansided. We were under the impression AJ Green was going to play for Houston, and we kind of saw the whole Pittsburgh thing coming because we got all excited because, let's face it, they were absolutely blowing Pittsburgh out of the water. But in Bengals fashion, they fall apart, especially offensively, because Ken Zampese can't make the correct adjustment again. Mm-hmm. And going even back to the week before that, we had a writer from Still Curtain. I'm not going to say his name because he does not deserve airtime. His name at least doesn't deserve airtime. Who said, and I quote, "The Pittsburgh Steelers need to purposely injure Vontaze Burfict. There's a reason he is no longer with Fansided. I know I sent out an email to all you guys and explained the situation, but first off, that was ridiculous. So we have to then celebrate, or we then let fans like that celebrate a win when they don't even deserve to win. Fans deserve to lose. Actually, the fans deserve to lose in terrible fashion. And the Baltimore Ravens game was a joke with the Steelers because, let's face it, some of those pass interference calls were jokes. And the fact that, they were calling, or they didn't call, I think it was pass interference on, I can't remember if it was Antonio Brown or if it was, why am I blanking on who their number 18 is? One of their newer guys. But he got a piece of his face mask, and they didn't call anything on a stiff arm. I mean, I'm tired of hearing Steelers fans too say, "Well, the NFL's against us. The officials are against."
Bullshit.
Joke. But then to come forward into the Texans week, we were excited because Bullock was there. We were excited because it finally got rid of Mike Nugent. He has this opportunity. He did a decent job against the Steelers.
Uh-huh.
And he blows what essentially is like a mid-range field goal at the end in a dome. So you can't even say, "Oh, the wind blew it." I mean, come on. And then we come into this week, and I'm all, I got to travel a little bit. I was excited. I got our latest mock draft out, and a fan. He says he was a fan for 33 years, and he's jumping off that. We still call that a bandwagon jumper. But comes out and says, Andy Dalton sucks. We need to get rid of Andy Dalton. First off, no. We don't need to get rid of Andy Dalton. There's a reason he was sacked 40 times, and that's because our offensive line was terrible. Mm-hmm. Cedric Ogbuehi looked basically like a offensive line version of RG3 after an injury. He looked terrible, and he hasn't gotten any confidence back. Jake Fisher at least has done a decent job, but then you have the guys on the interior who can't stop crap. And what does Ken Zampius do? He still puts out the same line almost every single week and doesn't plug and answer the basically the needs of the team. And okay, fine. If we're keeping Marvin Lewis for one more year, please get rid of Ken Zampius. I don't want to have to say his name another time about how we had to suffer through an idiot coaching our team who's probably he's probably the quarterback coach version of what happens with coordinators when they become a head coach. He was a position coach who became an offensive coordinator. He's a terrible offensive coordinator. He needs to go back to just be a quarterback's coach and leave the offense to somebody who knows what they're doing.
Wow.
There's my
rant. I'm proud of you. You feel good. It felt good, didn't it? To get the rant out. It was like just getting it all out of your chest. Yeah. So yes, we've had this conversation many a times, and how I feel that like the hatred of Andy Dalton is utterly ridiculous and forever will be ridiculous. So yeah, I'm with you, man. I think where I really go crazy is when people bring this up, and I do think there were times he got gun shy this year. Don't get me wrong, but I do believe that's offensive line play that caused that.
Yeah. But even then, I mean, and to bring Shelby into this, because I know Shelby's not here, but I mean, Shelby wrote a great article about how even Andy Dalton, if he plays the whole game, has a shot at breaking his own record that he set, and if I'm not mistaken, it was 2013?
Was it? Because that was the year he had like 19 touchdowns and 17 picks.
But I think that was his high in yards. I might be wrong. Maybe 14.
I thought it might be. Yeah. No, you're right. I'm sorry. It is 13 because 14 was a struggling year. 13 was the year he broke the passing record, and then AJ almost broke the receiving record. He was like 10 or 11 yards away.
So he has a chance this week, if he plays the whole entire game and has a decent game, of breaking his own record. And the only issue, because he hasn't, I mean, he's one of the top. He's actually one of the top quarterbacks in the fewest interceptions in the league this year. Shocking, I know. But he's been sacked. I'm almost positive he's at a career high in sacks.
Yeah, that's not even close.
And so it's one of those situations of what do you want him to do? If his team's not protecting him, if his team's not giving him enough time, you really expect him to succeed in an offense where he's not even close to be given enough time? Ben Roethlisberger couldn't even succeed with this offensive line. And he's somebody who actually can basically stand in there, take a hit, and shake it off. Mm-hmm. And I hate the man.
I do too.
But at the same time, you have to give him credit the fact that he somehow finds a ways to elude tackles. But I'm pretty sure he would even suffer in this.
Yeah, I agree, man. And I think that this is also the things that this is Dalton's second highest rating he's has as a passer in his career. At that 91.3, obviously last year's 106.3 looks pretty spectacular. Which also, I was say whatever route you're in the country might be a really good radio station. Yeah, so let's talk about this Marvin Lewis thing, man. Because I'm tired of it. Like, and I hate to be that guy but like his smug, his terrible press conferences, his mannerisms on the sideline, I'm not for it anymore, man. Like, I don't like the whole, like, when someone makes a bad penalty, his whole, like, clapping, like, oh, come on, guys, get it together. And, you know, people are like, but he drafts so well, Like, since the Tyler Eifert, Giovanni Bernard draft, no one's really made some giant impact that's been a draft pick. Like, we've seen guys make, like, spurts. Like, Cody Course made spurts. You know, Tyler Boyd's definitely made spurts. And I understand there's injuries that play a factor in that, too. But he hasn't drafted well for a few years. So, like, I think, you know, that needs to be looked at, in all honesty. I mean, look at P.J. Dawson, third-round draft pick and on the practice squad most of the year. And then, you know, like we said, it's the same old stuff. Like, if we know what the Bengals are going to call right before they get to the line of scrimmage, you can guarantee that all the other teams in the NFL know exactly what's going to be called. And when their defense scheme's set up, they tell you exactly what they're going to do as soon as they line up, depending on where George Iloka is on the field. The defense has been really good for weeks now. I mean, even that Pittsburgh game, I know they gave up the late touchdown, but, I mean, there's a reason Chris Boswell kicked 6 field goals in that game. The defense is held up, and I give Paul Gunther all the credit in the world for that. If he does get auditions to be a head coach this offseason, I get it. I'm fine. Yeah. I hope the best for him. But I can't. I'm going to continue to do this show. I'm always going to love the Bengals, and they're always going to be my team, and I always support them. Yep. But I'm not going to put my heart into this if it's going to continue to be the same show year in and year out.
Yeah, I mean, and it's hard to. I mean, we saw in the 90s, or at least I know I saw in the 90s. I think you're only a few years younger than me.
Oh, I definitely saw the 90s.
And so we saw the 90s. We were disappointed by the 90s. We kept getting the same message, oh, next year, oh, next year, oh, next year. And I don't think that excuse, in the 90s, I think we all fell for it. And that's because a lot of us didn't fall or didn't see before the 80s. In the 70s when they were kind of still okay but suckish. Mm-hmm. And so we accepted the after next year. Okay, wait for next year. I think we got tired of waiting for next year. And so hearing it isn't going to be acceptable anymore. It's a matter of seeing the actions that the organization is taking. This is probably, and I heard a lot of it on talk radio as I was driving back today on some of the more national channels. I heard a lot of talk of people saying this is one of the worst draft classes we have had in years.
This one coming up?
This one coming up.
That's 100% wrong.
Well, that was what ESPN radio was saying.
Wrong.
That's what CBS radio was saying. This is not just one place saying that.
That's fine. They're wrong, but that's fine.
They're saying this is, and it may, from what they may be talking about, they may be talking about this is not as deep in any position in terms of talent pool. it may be a little bit shallower in terms of talent pool.
But these players
There
are
may be
so
a
much
wider
better.
difference, but there may be a wider difference between the first round pick and the fourth round pick, where we've had a lot of years where the fourth round pick has been a pretty decent player, and so they may be more talking about about depth, and so to at least give them maybe a little credit there. Um, but at the same time, um, if they don't have if this draft class doesn't have the depth that we've seen in the past, the real question is going to be they've got a lot of needs. The Bengals really came out this year and showed they have a lot of needs. Offensive guard, linebacker. They probably need to get a safety in there to really kind of take the role because Sean Williams really struggled this year, and we saw that. So having a real solid,
He played better down the stretch.
he did. I think he got kind of accustomed to it, but there's still a lot of questions, and a lot of those are going to come next year in terms of answers. But you still need that true third safety, because we did see every week somebody in the secondary going down at least for a short period of time, whether it be to go through concussion protocol, whether it be to get seen for an ankle injury or twisting a knee or whatever. They still need the depth, and they've really lost depth on the team. They aren't as deep as what we're used to. Would you agree with that?
I would, for sure. Especially in that secondary portion. I thought when Deron Smith played, he looked good. He had some flashes. But yeah, you're right. Like once Deron Smith got hurt, when Clayton Fedgelman stepped in, I think Fed has a good future. I think Fed can kind of be that like role play safety, but he's not there yet.
His natural position is corner, isn't it?
I think you're right. I'm not for certain though. I will say the thing that everyone told us was going to be the reason of their downfall wasn't, and that was the loss of Jones and Sanu, because LaFell and Boyd have completely outplayed them.
For sure, and I mean part of that.
I get four that's without AJ Green, and a couple that's without Tyler Eifert. But we have one game left, and they've already had more receptions combined than those two did last year, more yards and more touchdowns.
Yeah.
So
and you got to think of it. I mean, granted, Brandon LaFell is a.
I want him back.
What's that?
I hope they bring him back.
I'm hoping so too. But the plus side there is we're not having what we had last year, where we had two key wide receivers immediately leaving us. Mm-hmm. And that's, we know Tyler Boyd's going to be here next year. Mm-hmm. And I'm excited to see how he continues to grow because he showed a lot of maturity as the season went on. He got more comfortable with Dalton. Dalton got more comfortable with him. Mm-hmm. So I'm really excited to see kind of what next year brings. With or without LaFell, I mean, I would love to see them bring back LaFell. LaFell brought another aspect to this game to this team that I think they needed. But at the same time, the real question there is going to be, what is he going to demand to come back? And so are the Bengals willing to pay that?
He hasn't had many drops this year, if I remember correctly, too, right?
He's had one or two, but they've kind of been fingertip drops. They really haven't been hit him in the numbers drops.
I gotcha. Yeah, except I was thinking, I mean, he's had a pretty decent year. 6 touchdowns, a little under 800 yards going into the last game. Like, I can live with those numbers for sure from a number 2. Obviously, his stats are a little padded from that sweet touchdown he had in the Houston game. Man, that was awesome. But, yeah, I'm with you. The running back issue, obviously, 1, how does Giovanni Bernard recover? 2, what are you going to get from Jeremy Hill? 3, are you going to re-sign Rex Burkhead? Those are 3 big questions there. Linebacker, they are super slow. Like, when you're going out there and seeing Vinny Ray Malalouk, and Carlos Dansby play linebacker, like, there is no one there that is like, no, they're going to pick up that running back out of the backfield, and they're going to be just fine. No, that's not happening. Not at all. And then obviously we could talk all day about how bad they've been offensive line-wise, and, people want to talk about losing Andre Smith, and I don't really think that's a huge loss, truly. I just think that they weren't good. So there's that. Looking at your mock draft, I think you and I are both kind of thinking the same way as far as where they go in the first round. As I said, I thought that Reuben Foster would be the best player for them, and that's who you actually had us to pick. Speed linebacker, pass rusher, edge, can set the edge. That is everything that this team needs. And I think that he has, obviously Alabama's got a couple more games to play, so God, let's hope he stays healthy. Notice I already said they have a couple games left to play. I know they got to win one to get to the next one, but we know what's going to happen in that one. I like Foster a lot. I think if he is the guy, and then obviously a lot can happen between now and April 27th, but I would totally be content with Reuben Foster wearing stripes next year.
Well, he came down, and I really had to. I was between Reuben Foster, and I was between the guy who, I have Carolina taking right after him, and that's Jabril Peppers. And, Peppers is attractive because he's kind of the all-around guy. He almost reminds me, and I hate saying it because of who he plays for now, but I love saying it because of course, he played for Ohio State. He almost reminds me of almost a better Ryan Shazier. And so for me, I was like, okay, I know they kind of need the safety aspect, and I know he would be a good corner, but I know he would also be able to play the edge and kind of play an outside linebacker role. He would be kind of that all-around guy, and then I'm like, you know what? They need to stop playing around with flex players, and they need somebody who is designated, and that's where Reuben Foster came into play. And so, he's a player that shows promise in terms of his second-level pass defense. Dropping back, helping to kind of cover a tight end a little bit and play well in that aspect. But then he also knows how to ball track. And so he's good at stopping a run from getting past really him. And that's really what I think the Bengals need. I think Andrew Billings will play a huge role in the run stop as well. But I think Reuben Foster would add that kind of edge style, taking away the corner on a running back and stopping progress for that aspect. And I think he would fit the mold for what the Bengals need better than anything. But we know the Bengals. They tell us that they don't need anything, and they're going to go with the best guy on the board, and that's a joke.
Yeah. That is. Unless it's like Mike Williams. I would totally be cool if Mike Williams, Tyler Boyd, AJ Green. I'd be fine with that.
Yeah, and Mike Williams, I have him going to Buffalo, so he'd be there.
Yeah.
At least according to my mock draft. The other person I had falling, and I was actually surprised I had him falling this far, was Fournette, but that means that you're really calling Jeremy Hill gone.
I think he'll go to Carolina, honestly.
And so the only thing I don't like about him going to Carolina is that when the offense was good, it was really good. And it didn't matter if it was running back or Cam Newton or wide receiver. When they were terrible, everybody was terrible. So they have more issues there. But then they also had issues stopping everybody. And so, with the exception, I think, of did they play the NFC West this year?
I don't think, did they? I don't remember. I don't
I
care.
remember the 49ers or anybody like that. I know they played the Oakland Raiders.
Yeah, that was a good game.
And usually if it's AFC or if the AFC West, it's NFC West. But so it was a matter of they had trouble stopping a lot of players, and I think Jabril Peppers would help them with that aspect because they really lost something when Josh Norman left and went to Washington, and so they really haven't been the same. Luke Kuechly brought that aspect to the game that the Panthers need, but they really need that shutdown corner and that shutdown secondary player, and that's where Josh Norman comes into play.
You mean Jabril Peppers?
Well, that's where Josh Norman came into play. That's where Jabril Peppers would come into play.
There you go. The only pick I really had, you had that I really just was like, no, was you had Deshaun Kaiser going fourth to the Jags. And I get where you're going because of the whole, Gus Bradley being out and their whole new, regime coming in. I don't think you're going to give up on Blake Bortles after one bad year.
Well, they had one of the ones I was looking at had Trubisky falling all the way to the Jaguars, and talking about how and then one of them had actually Deshaun Watson going to the Jaguars. So I saw two that had a quarterback, and I'm looking going. First off, I like Deshaun Watson. I think he's a good quarterback, but I don't think, especially if they land Tom Coughlin like they're trying to, I don't see Watson fitting into that.
No.
And I don't see Trubisky falling all the way to the Jaguars. I think the 49ers are desperate for a quarterback. And so
I agree with that. Yeah, I think that's fair.
And then that brought in the idea of, okay, well, what about Kaiser? And looking at Kaiser and looking at what he's done, and I know you're the huge Notre Dame guy.
I can cover a lot of this, yes.
He seems to be, he's able to stay in the pocket.
Mm-hmm.
He's able to pass from the pocket. And you know Tom Coughlin loves passing from the pocket.
Yeah.
But he also doesn't seem to, he seems to make decisions more instinctively. And decent decisions instinctively compared to, trying to go through every single read, and then by the time he makes every single read and figures he needs to take off, he's already sacked. So he seems to have some instinctiveness to him that I think would fit well with a Tom Coughlin.
The only thing about Deshaun Kaiser I can tell you is the athleticism's there, the arm is definitely there, the accuracy is there. His first year starting, he had some trouble with red zone turnovers, but he definitely fixed that last year, even on a terrible team. He doesn't know when to go down. And what it is, he is a very good scrambler. He has a lot of rushing touchdowns to his name. And you kind of saw that in the Fiesta Bowl against Ohio State, which was like one of the biggest games of draft picks in like college bowl history. Like I think there was literally 15 guys from that game that were drafted in the Notre Dame Ohio State game. And he doesn't know when to slide. He doesn't know when to run out of bounds. He does go for the extra yard, which you appreciate the toughness. But if you're going to put a lot of money into that kid, you're probably going to want him to get out of bounds here and there.
But that's teachable.
It is.
So and that's where my idea of Kaiser coming in, because I think, especially if Tom Coughlin does land there, and of course this is all going to change by the time.
Oh, absolutely.
Draft comes around. But if Tom Coughlin's there, I think Kaiser fits his role better than any of the quarterbacks out there that should be available at number 4.
Yeah, I think the Kaiser will end up being the Browns' second top 10 pick. I think that they're going to take him there in that trade that they made last year with it was Philly.
Yep.
Yeah, so I think that Philly pick's going to end up being Deshaun Kaiser, which is going to make sense that it was basically the Deshaun Kaiser for Carson Wentz trade. So that's kind of where I had him. I haven't done a mock draft per se, but like looking kind of the general consensus, like I said, I had Foster. The other big name for the Bengals I had was Derek Barnett. I know a lot of people have him a little lower, but I think he's going to be an outstanding NFL defensive end. A lot of people really like Carl Lawson, who I like a lot too, who I think will be a Steeler and haunt the Bengals for 12 years. And I've seen some rumors about Christian McCaffrey being a Patriot, which would, like, Jesus Christ, would anything else make more sense for Christian McCaffrey than to be a Patriot? I don't know. So it's going to be interesting. We almost are at draft season, which we all know I love draft season very much. But let's go ahead and let's focus on the now, Matt. They're playing the Ravens Sunday. Well, like half the team's playing the Ravens Sunday. Steve Smith's last game, which, like, say what you will about, I've been very open about my feelings for old number 89. But I do think he's going to be in Canton. I think that he kind of revolutionized that speed 6'1" wide receiver that makes things happen. See modern-day Brown, Antonio. So we're going to put it this way. I've been going to Bengals games since I was a kid. I've had season tickets for a long time, on and off. I've gone at least 4 games a year since I can remember. This is the first time in my life I'm not excited to go to a game. And that's counting, like, those 4-win seasons with Carson. That's counting, that's counting Riverfront Stadium bad. I can't get into the point where I'm like, man, I'm stoked for this game. And a lot of people are picking the Bengals to win this game. And I'm like, how? With what? I love Brendan LaFell, Tyler Boyd, and Rex Burkhead, But do you think that the Baltimore Ravens are game planning for this game and going like, oh man, we got to make sure those guys don't beat us. We got to stay on top of them. We're going to pull that safety over so Boyd doesn't go deep. No! No, they're not. Do you think they're really going like, we got to put pressure on this offensive line because we know that they can keep Dalton clean? No! No, they're not. Do you think there's any part of them that is like, okay, well, Vontaze Burfict's not playing, so let's just make sure that Geno Atkins and Carlos Dunlap don't get there? Yes! Yes, they are. And congratulations, I just summarized the Bengals' defensive game plan. Carlos Dunlap and Geno Atkins have to get to the quarterback for it to be effective. Because if they don't, nobody else will. And so, I think we can go ahead and say here that the Cincinnati Bengals will be 5-10-1, and hopefully the dominoes fall in the way where the Bengals have a top 5 draft pick.
Yeah, they still can get the 5th draft pick, can't they?
Yep.
Obviously, you know, the hope is the Bengals win.
Oh, I want them to win.
Yeah, and
please don't take it that way.
Because we've talked about that before. We've talked about the idea of losing for draft picks and the fact that that's
stupid.
But I think when we look at this game and we look at the meaning of this game, it's at this point more for pride than anything else. It's to go 500 in the division, to make it to 3-3. So that maybe it's not a complete and utter loss of whatever. But you know, it's one of those games that I think I would be more excited if the playoffs weren't the night before, where I'm going to be extremely tired because I was stupid enough to stay up till 11 o'clock to watch the two teams that I've been rooting for since I was a kid.
You're a Clemson guy?
My family is... My dad is Clemson. My mom is
really?
South Carolina.
I didn't know that.
My brother actually was born in South Carolina.
Huh. I didn't even know that. That's crazy.
So, it's really cool. But
win, lose, yeah. It's like the Bengals playing the Cowboys.
Yeah. My brother's side of the world is Gamecocks. They're South Carolina all the way. I've been Clemson, and I have still the 1981 Coke bottles for the Clemson National Championship that
that's cool.
My parents got. So that's really cool. I'm very excited about that. But I still want my Buckeyes to win. Go figure. Because that is my first team, first and foremost. But if they lose to Clemson, I can't be completely mad. I'm going to become a Clemson fan for the national championship.
Mm-hmm. I'm rooting for any team that plays Alabama is who I'm rooting for. So.
Yeah, I'm still going to root for Washington. Don't get me wrong, but not likely. But when we look at everything and we look at what's at stake for this team, we know it's nothing other than maybe a position better if they lose or a position worse if they win. And I think for this team, the big thing is taking a look at guys like Rex Burkhead, who are kind of playing for
Patriot way,
the free agency, market, that type of thing. Those guys, and I'm Kevin. Isn't Zeitler a free agent as well?
Zeitler's a free agent. The big free agents are Kirkpatrick, Zeitler, Burkhead, and I think I'm blanking here. You might want to edit this when we do this. Whitworth. Yeah, Whitworth's in the second year of his deal.
And I know Whitworth wants to be a Bengal.
And you got to think that Burfict and Eifert are probably going to get the extensions this offseason.
I'm trying to think, because I thought
Burfict's is like almost at the end from his previous extension from after his rookie deal. After his non-rookie deal. I mean, his rookie free agent deal.
Yeah, I would say, but I thought Burfict was already extended. I'm wrong.
But yeah, I'm with you.
But I mean, so for these guys, it'll be nice to see kind of them play. Possibly their last game in stripes. For Zeitler, I think it will be his last game in stripes. I think they're going to be looking for a guard in the draft. Um, although I wish they would look for a center. Um, we've had that discussion too about Bodine. Um, but I'm excited to see Rex Burkhead because honestly, if you want to talk about somebody who's been underutilized, underappreciated, but has the possibility of the talent, it's Burkhead. And if you were going to tell me that 100% Jeremy Hill's gone, Rex Burkhead's the future, then I'm telling you to bring him back. But we know this organization. They stick with high draft picks, and they sit there and say, I'm going to ride them until they die. Or at least try to.
Yeah.
So it is the mistake there.
So yeah, that's where this goes. I don't know if I haven't seen if Baltimore's planning on not playing anybody. I know obviously Steve Smith's going to play because it's, as he puts it, 89% his last game.
He's basically guaranteeing his jersey number.
Yeah.
No, and kudos to him for his career. I mean, I know we talk about how much we don't like him. We talk about how much, our hatred even goes back to Carolina. For what he's done there. But I mean, 14,000, almost 14,700 yards receiving total. I mean, if he doesn't get injured last year, he very well eclipsed 15,000 yards. You're talking about a player who, in all honesty, as you said, I mean, he kind of created that 6'1" talented speed receiver, and he did such a great job at it. And so, I can't wait to see what kind of idiocracy he brings to his Hall of Fame speech, because he will say something stupid, but at the same time, he deserves to be there. So, it's cool that you get to go see him in his last game, just because it's something you can sit there and say, I went to go see Steve Smith Sr.'s last game, but it's one that you're just sitting there going, how many years have you been playing this game? It's about time,
Yeah. So I think that could bring us to, I think the Ravens win this game because I don't know if the Bengals even have enough players to fully dress for this one. I saw Jake Kummerow came off the practice squad. So, kudos to Kummerow. See what I did there? Yeah.
Yeah, I saw.
So I'm picking the Ravens, and the Bengals will be 5-10-1, and hopefully that means other people will win.
Yeah, I want to say Bengals just because I think neither team has anything to play for other than pride. Mm-hmm. And I think this is kind of the defense's last hurrah to sit there and kind of say, okay, we're still here, we aren't going anywhere, and we just need to win one for the Gipper type.
Yeah. So Matt, you ready to pick a bunch of other games that don't matter?
Except for one.
Yeah.
Which to second to last.
Yeah. I think it's the last because there's no Monday Night Football this week, actually.
It is the last, so you're right with that one.
Let's go through the list, man. Let's start with the AFC South Division champions with Tom Savage at quarterback. Houston Texans, who will have a home playoff game yet again, and will probably play the Raiders. No, they will. Yeah, they will get the Raiders because they're going to be the 4 seed, and they will play the 8-7 Marcus Mariota-less Tennessee Titans, starting Matt Castle. Call it as it will, the Houston Texans are division champs for the second straight year in a terrible division. Kudos to you guys. I still think the Titans will win this game, even with Matt Castle at the helm, because I think DeMarco Murray will run the ball and try to get his stats up a little more, so fantasy owners will go crazy for him in the 2017 draft.
I know I know DeMarco Murray did a great job. Don't forget Derrick Henry, who also played a strong number 2. I mean, they took a page right out of the Bengals book with.
Except for it worked.
Yeah. Well, when you have one of the best running backs in the league, and you got one of the best draft running backs in last year's draft, something's bound to work. Mm-hmm. I mean, but those two guys, I think, will just have a field day. because no J.J. Watt. I'm pretty sure they'll probably rest Clowney because Clowney is, well, just as injury prone as anybody. And
He's a Pro Bowler this year, finally.
he is a Pro Bowler, and I got into an argument on Facebook messaging with somebody on Stripe Pipe over Clowney, and Clowney ends up in the Pro Bowl. So, ha ha ha! I guess I was right, whether that means anything or not. But
You showed them, man. You showed them.
yeah, I guess so. Like it mattered, but I just don't think this offensive line or this defensive line is going to be the same as what we're normally used to seeing. I think they'll rest a few players too, and I think the running backs will have a field day.
So talk about a team that has something to play for, but is slimmest of margins. That is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who need like 13 games to go their way to make it. That starts with playing the 6-9 defending NFC champion Carolina Panthers. I like the Buccaneers in this one. I've talked many times how I really like the tandem of Jameis Winston and Mike Evans. I hope Doug Martin figures out his personal issues so he can come back and have a great year in the future. But for now, I will say that the Buccaneers will be 9-7 and out of the playoffs.
I think they'll be 9-7, but I don't think Lightning will strike 2 years in a row because if you remember, the Steelers had to have like 4 different games go their way, and somehow it did.
The Buccaneers literally need AFC games to go their way to make it.
Yeah, that's pretty much true.
Yeah.
But great season for them. Jameis Winston did a great job, really with this team, and for being in his second season. I hope he continues this way because
Me too.
I mean, it's he can now afford his own lobsters, but
he will never hear the end of that. It's like Manti Te'o will never not know about a fake girlfriend.
But at the same time, it would be great to see him go to Walmart, take a couple more lobsters to celebrate with, and forget to pay for them. But nobody will say anything because it's Jameis Winston.
Just like it was draft night? Yeah, draft night. When he got drafted, he celebrated by eating lobsters. I was like, that's trolling hard, and that's awesome. I love it.
Great.
So talking about another game that doesn't matter, like many games in this Week 17, the 7-8 Indianapolis Colts host the 3-12 Jacksonville Jaguars. We know where I'm going with this. Andrew Luck is just 81 yards away from a 4,000-yard season, which he did not get the opportunity to do last year. Frank Gore just 37 yards away from another 1,000-yard season, which kudos to Frank Gore for still doing it at the age he's at. It's at Lucas Oil, and I know the Colts want to end on a high note so they can try to be towards being good again, which I don't think that's going to happen for a while. But I like the Colts to finish 8-8 and win this one.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the second leading rusher for the Colts is Andrew Luck.
I think so, yeah.
So I'm not holding my breath with Frank Gore in terms of that was a successful year. No, good for Andrew Luck kind of getting back in there, but obviously the Colts have a lot more problems that they need to address, and they're going up against a Jacksonville team that just got its head coach canned. So somehow they come out and beat the Titans last week. So I'm going Jacksonville in this one just because I don't know. They came out with nothing to prove last week and won and played spoiler.
So talk about games that we have 2 playoff teams. As we know, the AFC field is set. The New England Patriots head down to Miami to play the Dolphins. This game definitely does matter for the Dolphins as far as having played spot 5 or spot 6. But we all know that Tom Brady wants to add to his spite of the National Football League. And I think he's going to do just that because he's going to say, there's no way the AP will vote Tom Brady the MVP because of his suspension. But he's going to give them every reason to vote him the MVP, and he's going to have another big game. I like the Patriots to finish 14-2.
Dolphins lost their first matchup against.
Remember, I don't think Tannehill's back for this game either.
That's true. I didn't think of that. I'm gonna go with you on this one. I think if Tannehill doesn't play, I don't care what they do in the running game. I just think that they drop it.
Brings us to the Minnesota Vikings and the Chicago Bears. Who cares? The Vikings win 8-8.
Uh, I hope the Vikings don't win. I hope they fire Mike Zimmer, and I hope that the Bengals end up with Mike Zimmer and get rid of Marvin Lewis. It's not going to happen, people. So Vikings win.
So the Buffalo Bills at 7-8 will travel to the New York Jets without Rex Ryan, who can't coach his final game against his former team. How about that action? Wow. Yeah, isn't that crazy?
That's nuts.
God, I don't even care about this game. I'm not even going to lie to you. I guess I'll pick the Buffalo Bills because of LaShawn McCoy.
The New York Jets announced that they're giving their coach another year. Obviously the Buffalo Bills didn't care, and Buffalo Bills win because their players actually play because they don't have to play for Rex Ryan.
So the 13-2, my beloved Dallas Cowboys going to Philly to play the 6-9 Eagles. On paper, you're thinking Cowboys win this one, but Dak Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott have already been told they won't be playing much in this game. So if the Cowboys want to go 14-2, they're going to have to depend on Mark Sanchez going into his former hometown of Philly to win, and Darren McFadden. The Eagles will win this one in my eyes, but it's not going to matter. Dallas finishes 13-3. They obviously already have the number one seed of the NFC, and this could potentially be the year of the Cowboys.
I think Dallas and Mark Sanchez stick their middle finger up to every single Eagles fan. And yes, I said Eagles fan. Possible. I think Mark Sanchez wants to just absolutely throw his former bosses under a bus and then run over them and back up over them again. And I think Cowboys still find a way to win it because it's still the Cowboys.
So that brings us to the Steelers and the Browns with no Ben Roethlisberger, no Le'Veon Bell, no Antonio Brown. No problem. It's still the Browns. The Steelers will be 11-5.
I've been saying it. I would have said it again last week, just because I wanted to call them. I wanted to call their win. And no starters. We know how terrible their backups are, especially at quarterback. And I think Browns are going to win.
The 10-5 Atlanta Falcons looking to solidify their spot in this NFC, and Matty Ice having an MVP type year, even against that Julio Jones. Host Drew Brees and the 7-8 New Orleans Saints, where Brees' great year that he's had, which has been a great year, has kind of taken a little bit of a stutter step these past couple weeks. I really like the Falcons to win this one, be 11-5, and get that momentum rolling. I think that they are the team that could threaten Dallas in the NFC.
Yeah, I still don't think so. I still think the Falcons will win the game, but I still think that they're when it comes to the playoffs, I still think they're more of a pretender than a contender.
Yeah. Brings us to the New York Giants, who for the first time, I think since they won the Super Bowl, are getting a taste of the playoff play, going against the 8-6-1 Washington Redskins. I know the Giants are in. Don't really have a whole lot to play for here since they are really, if you look at it, they have that 5 spot locked up pretty well. The Redskins, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I don't think they're fully eliminated yet. So I like Kirk Cousins to like that and win this game. But obviously the Detroit Green Bay game is going to be a determining factor of everything, which we'll get to here in a minute.
Well, I think the Redskins, for the most part, are almost done. I don't know how to say it, but even with that being said, if there's one team that's probably threatens the Cowboys in the playoffs, I think it's the Eagles or the Giants. The Eagles.
That'd be something.
Because I think, I really think that the Giants are one of those teams that, for some odd reason, and I think they did this the other 2 times that they actually won the Super Bowl, they barely make it in, and then they find a way to run the table.
Props to Ben McAdoo for the year he's had there, by the way.
So, I'm thinking that I still think the Washington's got more to play for, so they'll win this game.
Hmm.
But look for the Giants to be possibly the dangerous group to play spoiler in the playoffs.
The 6-8-1 Cardinals play the 4-11 LA Rams. David Johnson has a field day. Cardinals win. Who cares?
The Cardinals win. Carson Palmer is probably playing for his career because that's another place that might be looking quarterback in the draft, depending. And yeah, pretty much it basically make it or break it time for Carson Palmer in Arizona.
Yeah, I guess. Whatever.
Yeah.
The Oakland Raiders, who have been one of my favorite teams all year, will take a step back, obviously, without Derek Carr breaking his leg, which sucks. God, that sucks. I know we didn't get a chance to talk about Mariota, that sucks too. Facing the Denver Broncos, who are not in the playoffs. Let me say that again, the Denver Broncos, who are not in the playoffs. That's awesome. I do think the Broncos will win this one because, their stories are set. So, yay, Broncos beat the Raiders.
Yeah, I think Broncos will beat the Raiders just because it's still Broncos defense, but I nothing's going to impress me in that game. Backup for the Oakland Raiders, it's disappointing because I've been saying it since I think last year how excited I was that Derek Carr has really shown improvement in the fact that him and Amari Cooper had gotten along so well. Amari Cooper took a step back this year, but Derek Carr took so many steps forward. It wasn't
Michael Crabtree, man.
I know. Derek Carr just absolutely lit it up. And I know Latavius Murray is not – he's been good, but he's not been great. So, I've just been excited for Derek Carr and what he's done, and it's sad that he won't be in the playoffs. But Broncos win this game. Doesn't mean a thing.
The Kansas City Chiefs, who I think are utterly dangerous in the AFC. 11-4, they are in the playoffs. They are playing the Chargers, who have nothing to play for, at 5-10. I will say that I still like the Chiefs to win this game, even with their story solidified. Don't be wrong. I think the Chargers are going to make this a game, and they're going to fight. But Phillip Rivers is going to make some Phillip Rivers mistake, and that's going to lead the Chiefs to victory.
Yeah, it's the Chargers. They lost to the Browns. So, if you lose to the Browns, you deserve to win 0 games the rest of the year. Mm-hmm. Chiefs win.
That brings us to the 9-5-1 NFC West champion Seattle Seahawks playing the 2-13 San Francisco 49ers, where Colin Kaepernick, Matt, has put together a great year of whatever. The Seahawks will win this one. Colin Kaepernick might throw for some yardage, maybe more than 5 yards in this game. I don't know. And that's probably going to solidify the Seahawks as they will have the 3 seed in the NFC, it looks like. Oh, no, they might not actually. No, because if there's not a tie in the Detroit game, no, they will, because they'll be 10-5-1. And then, yeah, so, never mind. I'm wrong.
For me, I don't. Is this at 49ers or is this at Seahawks?
It's in San Francisco. It could be on the moon. It's not going to matter.
See, that's where I think it's a little bit different because it is a division game. And you still want to at least see a decent game there. But I think Seahawks win. But I think it's closer than what you're making it sound like.
So that brings us to the last game, man. And this is what an unbelievable turnaround the Green Bay Packers have been. The fact that Aaron Rodgers is not being mentioned in MVP talk is foolishness. And this is a game where after they beat the Eagles on Monday Night Football, he said that he thinks they're going to run the table. A lot of people laughed at him. Joke's on us because they have practically ran the table. And if they win this one, they will, in fact, run the regular season table. But in their way is a very good, very competitive Detroit Lions team who you have to have beat before the fourth quarter because they will make it interesting. This is a Detroit Lions team that really choked away a game against the Cowboys when they were in it, and the Cowboys did cowboy things that they always do. And, God, they're so good. And, Aaron Rodgers is a bad man. We've said this many times. The bad man does bad man things to win bad man football games. And I love Matt Stafford and the year he's had. Golden Tate has really came on since about week 7 or 8. Yeah, and I like this Lions team. Don't get me wrong. When it comes down to, if it's all on the line, if it's all on the table, and this is for a chance to have a home playoff game, do I trust Matthew Stafford to win the game, or do I trust Aaron Rodgers? The answer is the bad man wears number 12 and plays at Lambeau Field and has the best arm in the NFL. Well, maybe not anymore, but has one of the best arms in the NFL and is maybe one of the best players I have ever seen play this game of football. Is going to win this game, and the Green Bay Packers will be 10-6, and they will host a playoff game next week. They will probably play the Giants. Ooh, that's gonna be fun.
So, first off, you can tell you pepped up because this game is the one that matters.
Yep.
And the question is, does the bad man still have Jordy to throw to? The answer is yes.
Yep.
And unless you absolutely shut Jordy down, it's going to be difficult to stop this team. But even when you shut Jordy down, Aaron Rodgers finds a new target and has fun with new players. The bad man absolutely shows why he is the bad man.
Listen to this. We talk about, Rodgers isn't the only reason I'm picking him in this game. Listen to this. So, if we remember, there was that stretch there where Green Bay really struggled. They lost 4 in a row. They lose to Atlanta where they give 33 points. Yep. Andrew Luck goes into Lambeau, and they score 31 points.
Yep.
The Titans dominate the Packers by 22. And then the Redskins dominate the Packers by 18. So since then, the Packers' defense has looked like this. 13 points getting up to the Eagles. 13 points getting up to the Texans. 10 points getting up to the Seahawks. They had a close game with the Bears, but that was Aaron Rodgers throwing 70 yards downfield to set the game-winning field goal. And last week, they had the game in the bag when the Vikings came back and made the score look interesting.
Didn't talk about that one.
Yeah.
The fact that they're idiots. When your coach, who, is one of the best defensive-minded coaches in the league, tells you to do something,
do it.
And then go, nah, we'll just keep the status quo. Terrence Newman, you played for the guy. You know better.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's definitely what I meant. But this Packers defense is on a roll too, man. So I like the Lions' weapons. I think they can do a lot of things on the offense side of the ball, but I just think the Packers be too much, man. I think I could see a case. I'm not going on record with this. It depends how things shake out. I could definitely see an NFC title game between the Dallas Cowboys and the Green Bay Packers.
It could. I'm still not counting out if they get the Giants. I'm still not counting the Giants out.
I'm not either because it's Eli in the playoffs. It's like he's a whole other human being then.
And the best part about the fact of Eli, if Eli won another Super Bowl, it would piss off every Steelers fan possible because Eli Manning would have more Super Bowls than Ben Roethlisberger, and I would love it.
By the way, we didn't touch on this before we get out of here. Terry Bradshaw's comments on Mike Tomlin. What are the locals saying about that?
Well, it's funny because you get the fans that all of a sudden are jumping behind Mike Tomlin, who last year when he was barely making the playoffs, they wanted to fire. They wanted him gone because they didn't win the AFC North. They're all of a sudden jumping behind him saying, oh, how can he say it? Then you have the media, and the media is going, listen, Mike Tomlin is a 2-time winning Super Bowl coach. Terry Bradshaw is a 4-time Super Bowl championship quarterback. 2 Super Bowls versus 4 Super Bowls. I wonder which trumps what.
Don't use the word Trump with me.
I'm sorry. Which one supersedes what? Better.
Yeah.
Okay. It, it, they're like, listen, Terry Bradshaw knows what he's talking about. He's dealt with difficult coaches. Shall we talk about Chuck Noll? He's dealt with difficult teammates. He's been the difficult teammate. If Terry Bradshaw says that he sees something in a coach that he doesn't like, you better listen because he knows better than 90% of the population out there on what a good head coach looks like.
Mm-hmm.
So the media is not on Tomlin's side, but yet all the fans are sitting there going, well, he won the AFC North. He's great.
I would take Mike Tomlin.
I wouldn't.
I wouldn't in a heartbeat.
The reason why is because the first Super Bowl was very much not his team. And the second Super Bowl, and the first Super Bowl, too, was a freak accident that happened in a wild card game that shouldn't have ever happened, and they should have never been in the Super Bowl. And then the second Super Bowl, they actually shouldn't have won, but by a stupid reception that happened in the end zone and a ridiculous set of circumstances, they ended up beating Arizona, who outplayed them for 90% of the game. So Mike Tomlin is not a Super Bowl caliber coach. He's a playoff caliber coach. You want a Super Bowl caliber coach? Tom Coughlin's a Super Bowl caliber coach.
Do you think Mike Tomlin's better than Marvin Lewis?
I think they're cut from the exact same mold.
I would take Mike Tomlin over Marvin Lewis tomorrow. I know he only has one more playoff win since Dalton's been in the league, but I would take him tomorrow.
They are cut from the exact same mold. They came from the exact same place, from the exact same system. I don't want either of them.
Well, let's look at it this way. Let's not even go there. Let's end it. Let's end it here because we'll be on this show for 2 hours. We're already at an hour.
Interesting. But no, and look, and I know you know this, but they're from the exact same system. They're cut from the exact same mold. I don't want either of them. Get me somebody who is not only going to win me a playoff, but gives me every possibility of winning a Super Bowl. Don't get me Mike Tomlin, because Mike Tomlin ain't going to get me there.
I hope you're right, because I do not want to see the Steelers win a 7th.
I don't even want to see them come close.
Me neither.
I hope they're out in the wild card.
So that being said, we're going to wrap up our Week 17 edition of Men in Stripes. Thanks for sticking with us throughout this season. I know it hasn't been a good one, but Matt and I have been doing this for a year now. Shelby's been a great asset to this team. We are coming up on draft season, and we can't wait for draft season. So we can speculate and talk about that. So everyone, I guess, enjoy the game Sunday for whatever it is. Have a safe New Year. Don't go crazy. Call an Uber, but have a good time. And who dat?
Don't burn any coaches or couch.
Yeah. Who dat?